In this video, we will explore 4 bizarre instances of familicide where one family member murders the entire family. In each of these cases, the family was killed inside their own home and no one saw it coming. This case is interesting because there is no known motive. However, Alex may have given a clue to why he killed his family. He ultimately told police that in the days prior to the killing spree, his dad told him to either find a job or move out. 20-year-old Alex was one of 2 children born to his dad Jan, 61, and his mother Melissa, 68. Alex's sister Sabrina was just 1 year younger. In 2021, the Jackson family lived in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, at a home in the 4400 block of Oak Leaf Court. Alex graduated from Cedar Rapids Kennedy High School. Both Alex and his sister Sabrina were enrolled at the University of Iowa. On the surface, they appeared to be a tight-knit family who cared about each other. Alex didn't have a job, so maybe he was becoming a burden to the family, possibly leading to his dad giving the ultimatum for him to find a job or move out. But Alex never fully admitted why he snapped. On the morning of June 15, 2021, at around 8:23 a.m., Alex made a frantic 911 call stating that his family had been attacked by a masked intruder. He went on to say that he woke up to gunshots, found the intruder, and struggled with him. He said that in the process, he was shot in the foot. The police arrived to find Alex with a gunshot wound to his foot. They also found his dad, mom, and sister inside the home dead. They were all found in different rooms, and there was no sign of a burglary. The gun used in the shooting was a rifle that belonged to the family. To try to explain why the family's gun was used, Alex said that him and his dad had cleaned the rifle the night before and left it on the fireplace. Police found evidence that contradicted Alex's story, and after spending time in the hospital for his wounded foot, he was booked on 3 counts of first-degree murder. One attorney on the case called the killing horrendous. This was more than just a murder. It was an execution of the defendant's mother, father, and sister. A close friend of Alex, who spent time playing video games with him the night before, said he's not the person you'd expect to kill his family. As of early 2022, a trial date had not been determined, as both sides were still gathering evidence. To this date, Alex continues to claim he is innocent.
The shock from news of 3 shooting deaths transitioned to sorrow as friends of Sabrina Jackson grapple with the loss. She was the 19-year-old University of Iowa student who died along with her parents in a shooting at their Cedar Rapids home on Tuesday. Her brother is now charged in those deaths.
We're talking with one of her friends who's known her for many, many years, Jillian Grishala, also class of 2020. And what's going through your mind right now, Jillian?
I'm just going to miss her. She meant a lot to me. She was really, really important. We were close for like 8 years, and it's just overwhelming.
The family is devastated by the senseless loss of life. Alex is currently being held on a $3 million bond. This is a terrifying story of John, who killed his wife Helen, who was 46, his mother Alma, who was 84, and their 3 children, Patricia 16, John Frederick 15, and Frederick 13. John described himself as a religious man. He had a military background and held a number of jobs. In 1965, he accepted a job as the vice president of a New Jersey bank, and the family moved into a 19-room mansion in Westfield, New Jersey. His mother moved in with them. They appeared to be an ideal family, but everything would soon come to an end. Unbeknownst to the family, John had gone into debt. He was laid off when the Jersey bank closed, but failed to let the family know what was going on. Instead, he was stealing money from his mother's account to pay the bills. As things became too overwhelming, John made the decision to kill everyone. On November 9, 1971, the family started the day as they did any other day. John watched the kids leave the house, heading off to school. As his wife sat at the kitchen table drinking coffee, he walked over to her and shot her in the back of the head. He then went upstairs, kissed his 84-year-old mom, and shot her in the head. John then cleaned up the kitchen, placed Helen in the ballroom, and prepared for his other kids to return home. When Frederick and Patricia arrived home, he shot them immediately. He then put them in the ballroom, cleaned up, and headed over to his oldest son's soccer game. When they arrived home, John first shot his oldest son in the chest before shooting him 9 more times. He stated that his oldest son did not die immediately, so he kept shooting him to take him out of his misery. Once dead, he put his son's body in the ballroom and turned on music. He left his mother's body upstairs because he couldn't carry her. John then left a note, destroyed all photos of himself, and went into hiding. It seems he did not want anyone to have any updated photos of him. The bodies of the family members weren't discovered until about a month later, when neighbors grew concerned because there appeared to be no activity at the home. That is when they called police. By the next year, the family home had burned down. For 17 years, John remained on the run. He lived under an alias, calling himself Robert Clark. He traveled a lot, but was living in Virginia at the time of his capture. Reports show that in May of 1989, following his story being aired on television, people recognized him and contacted authorities. In April of 1990, List was convicted of 5 counts of first-degree murder. At sentencing, he blamed his actions on his mental state. He was sentenced to life in prison. He died from pneumonia at age 82. Like the first story, this story also takes place in Iowa. Stephen Sueppel was a 42-year-old banker who resided in Iowa City, Iowa. He was married to Cheryl, who was also 42 at the time of the tragedy. Together, they adopted 4 children, all from Korea: Ethan 10, Seth 7, Mira 5, and Eleanor 3. Prior to the murders, Stephen had been charged with stealing $500,000 between 2000 and 2007 from Hills Bank and Trust. That is where he worked as an executive. Stephen lost his job in October of 2007, forcing his wife to return to work as a teacher. In February of 2008, he pled not guilty to various financial crimes and was free on bond awaiting trial. It was believed that Stephen's financial issues, criminal charges, and public embarrassment were all too much for him, leading him to do the unthinkable. On a cold night in March of 2008, Stephen beat his wife to death in their home on Barrington Road. The likely weapon was a baseball bat, found later inside the home. Stephen then left several voicemails for family members and left an apology message on his answering machine. Based on evidence and a 4-page note left by Stephen, it appears he then loaded the children inside the family van that was parked in the garage. The plan was to kill them using carbon monoxide, but he was unsuccessful. He then took all the children back inside the home, where he sent them to separate rooms. 3 went to their bedrooms, and the youngest was sent to a playroom. Stephen then beat each child to death. He used 2 baseball bats. At 6:30 the next morning, Stephen called 911, urging police to come to his home. The call quickly disconnected. Less than 10 minutes later, a woman observed a van, determined to be Stephen's, driving at a high rate of speed on the interstate before it deliberately crashed into a highway barrier. The van exploded. Stephen was killed on impact. In Stephen's letter, he apologized for killing his family and himself. He admitted that he had tried to drown himself earlier in the Iowa River, but kept floating. His last resort was to drive into a pillar. He suggested that his family would all be better off dead. This last story is a recent and controversial story that has people speculating about what really happened. This strange ordeal caught media attention because the family was seen in the police station just hours before they would all end up dead. 26-year-old Aschod Ewing-Meeks lived in North Carolina with his 26-year-old girlfriend, Ashlynne Brown. Brown was a teacher's assistant at a local school and was described as caring and loving. She had a strong relationship with her family. Family spoke on how she was an avid softball player and an overall good person. Aschod's mother described him as a good person. She said he played football and had a history of concussions.
He was suffering, he was depressed, he had anxiety, he had impulses.
And Aschod went on to have 2 children together, 4-year-old Bella and 8-month-old Brixton. It is uncertain what was really going on in the personal life of this couple. Police said there were never any domestic abuse issues or any calls to the family home. On April 18, 2022, around noon, the entire family was seen on police surveillance entering Davie County Sheriff's Office. According to the receptionist, they were very vague on what they wanted. However, they kept asking to speak with the deputy. At 12:35 p.m., Ashlynne called 911 saying she wanted to speak with a deputy about a safety concern, but would not give any further information. At 12:46 p.m., a deputy called Brown. She answered the phone, but gave the phone over to her boyfriend. The deputy indicated that the call lasted about 30 seconds before ending. The deputy called again and had a 55-second conversation with Aschod. There will be 2 additional calls made, one lasting 2 minutes and another lasting 6 minutes. The deputy urged the family to come back to the station, but Aschod refused. He thought he was being followed and was in the car with the family, driving around the area. He would not give his specific location. The deputy made one final call at 1:06 p.m., but the call went to voicemail. No further contact will be made with either Ashlynne or Aschod. Around 2 p.m., a witness saw the two arguing in the front yard of their Junction Road family home. They then went inside the home. At 2:14 p.m., a passerby showed up at the nearby fire station to report a house fire at the Junction Road home. Police and firefighters arrived on the scene a few minutes later and discovered bodies inside the home. A police investigation concluded that this was a case of murder-suicide. Ashlynne and her 8-month-old baby were found in the kitchen with fatal gunshot wounds. Their 4-year-old Bella was found dead in the doorway of a bedroom. It has been assumed that after killing the family, Aschod set the house on fire, then shot himself. These are devastating stories where men carried out evil deeds on the family. Leave comments down below and tell me what you think about these cases. Be sure to like and subscribe. And until next time, be safe.